So what's new with everybody?
Not much so far with me.
Well, we're supposed to get more of the fire haze this weekend.
Yeah.
Are we?
It was nice today though. It was
Yeah.
good quality today.
So are we still getting some of the haze?
Yeah, there's another wave coming.
Okay, because
over the weekend.
It looked like there was a big still fires burning out west in Canada kind of thing. And I was wondering about whether it was going to go eastward or no. So that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
Right. It has to do with, all those wind patterns, whatever.
Okay.
So they don't know how severe it will be yet, because
seems like it wouldn't be as severe as when it was just above us, kind of thing. So, hey, Carol.
Hey, Carol. Hi.
Decided to be on camera, huh? Usually I hear you from Bob.
You're muted, Carol.
He's usually talking to you off camera here.
Yep, I thought I'd be muted, but it looks like Steve isn't here, so you are not in meeting mode yet.
Yeah, he's not on camera here.
There he is.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you. Yeah, there you are. Now I can see you too.
I see you.
Yeah, I could see him.
Yep.
How come I'm so faint compared to everybody else?
Are you talking the sound or the video?
The video.
No, her video is pale compared
Yeah.
to
You
the
need
rest of us.
Geritol.
Right, yes.
Good one, Bob. Good one.
I didn't know it.
It's your lighting. It's simply your lighting.
Maybe it's your backlit. Do you have light coming in behind you?
Yeah, well, let's see.
We're getting echo for about a minute ago.
Yeah, it's like delayed, and then you can hear what we said previous. That's odd.
I am following this now on YouTube, but it's on a separate device, an iPad, and I've got earphones plugged into it. So I don't know what that does in terms of killing the mic on this thing. Prep, what do I need to look at for that? System control or whatever you want.
Oops. Well, there's one more light I can turn.
On YouTube, not on Mastermind Lounge. I'm talking YouTube. So in other words, if I'm on YouTube, my mic should be off, right? Good, because I'm just following the CIDER. I'm trying like hell to follow the CIDER stream. And God help me, YouTube.
Now you're in the dark, Linda.
I know. Yeah, that's okay. A little better.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I turned that off. That's okay. I'm all right. I'm here.
We can see you. We can
Yeah.
hear you.
We're going to be looking at Steve anyways in his screen, so it doesn't really
Right.
matter.
That's right. I didn't know if I had done something to a setting or whatever.
No. You're fine.
Okay.
I have a new torch lamp from my other house.
A torch lamp.
Yeah, like one of the floor lamps, the old-fashioned living room
yes.
floor lamps. Put the thing up here.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those.
They still sell them, but I don't think
Yeah.
they're as popular as they used to be.
Yeah, this one's probably from like about 20 years ago.
Well, you know, I'm enjoying your little tables I got, Carol.
Oh, good.
I went and got them all dusted and oiled and everything, and they look pretty good, even
All
though
right.
one or two have a little bit of the veneer coming off.
Yeah.
But they are perfect because they're all little ones,
Big
and
little.
and they fit everywhere pretty good. And your chair too, I like your chair. It's just sort of sitting there sort of majestically hoping for a cat to sit on it. But they've decided not to. They need a little more padding, you know, because they like to sit on things they're not supposed to. Like,
Oh, they want something cushy. Huh?
yeah, so if I go and I put like a soft squishy pillow on it, then they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, that's where I want to be.
Steve, I
Right
got
now-
a couple of things I want to mention to you when there's a break here.
Oh, go ahead.
Point one is where's your audio volume in OBS for YouTube? All right, it'll take a moment here for it to come through on the YouTube stream.
Bring up that level. Higher, higher, higher. Okay, let me bring it up in the system settings. It's annoying that it's never the same every week. Alright, now I'm getting into the yellow from the chat. And are you hearing me still?
Yep.
Okay.
I am.
Am I into YouTube yet?
talking about on YouTube. Is anybody else trying to follow him on YouTube? Because if you're not, that's not relevant.
I've got YouTube
Steve,
open, but I don't have the audio up.
I've started to hear you starting when you said higher, higher, higher. And I just heard it's never the same every week or whatever every time. So I think you're doing pretty well.
Okay.
Good, good. That's probably good. I will update you if.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, do we want to officially start the meeting then? Are we all up and running?
No,
All our glitches all fixed?
no. I've got another thing to say to Steve.
Okay.
Just before we get going, Steve, there was an article in my email from Malwarebytes about malvertising. I have put a link to the article in the chat, so when you get the Q&A stuff or something like that. But I thought I'd just give you a heads up on it. The article is kind of complicated, and it certainly left me in the dust, but it might be interesting to people. Okay, that's it for me.
What is it I have to do to get a copy of the chat? To save, what do I have to do that?
Go to
I
the
always
three
forget.
dots in the upper right corner and hit save. So save,
There it is.
Save as a file,
Okay.
or you can copy it to the clipboard.
Okay. Right.
Okay, we all set?
Malvertising, yeah. We're gonna make it. Everyone makes new words.
All right, so I don't see the time on my screen, so what
And we don't
time
need
is
the
it?
time.
7:17.
We don't need the time.
7:17.
We
Okay,
do
so
not record the time.
all right, so let's officially start the meeting. So welcome everybody. Hopefully we'll get a few more people joining in as we go along than just us, but we'll get going. All right, so Steve, you want to start us off with, you want to do Q&A, or
Yeah.
you want to do
Start
some
with
Apple News before you start?
a few questions. Well, the whole meeting is going to be Apple News, so let's talk about. Let me bring the Safari window up. Let's talk about the malvertising that Charlie brought up here. Okay, let me bring this window. Okay, share and make it big. And I make the people smaller? All right. So malvertising is a portmanteau. So it's a combination of the words malicious advertising. And what we have started seeing is brand impersonation. And so Malwarebytes posted in their blog a few days ago, well, a couple weeks ago now, that brand impersonation is back and on the rise again. We have seen that in our shop. There has been a surge in fake McAfee email. You're getting an email saying, claiming to be from McAfee, saying that you either need to renew your subscription or McAfee found something on your computer, and it's fake, and it's tricking people into doing lots of bad things. We had a woman brought her computer in today, where she left them in the computer all weekend long because they asked her to. I said, "Well, we'll start cleaning things out for you." And when she noticed them getting into her bank account, that's when she got panicked. So it's sort of that general rule of thumb: don't trust anything. And advertising, Google tries to do ad verification. So you see an ad for Amazon, they try to say that it's from Amazon, and sometimes you'll find advertisers that are different name, so it's not who it says it's from. And
Yeah,
even though
there's a clip.
they put Amazon in their URL list, they're not really Amazon. So in this case, this is Nancy K. Porter, whoever that is, trying to push an Amazon ad, making people think they're going to Amazon in order to buy something, and they end up buying something fake.
And Steve, what you clicked on to reveal that was the three dot more menu next to Amazon.com in the ad,
Yeah.
or what they did?
Yep.
Okay.
So if we try to repeat that, so if I Google Amazon, actually,
Now,
no,
you were.
I went to DuckDuckGo. Let's Google Amazon.
I'm sorry to interrupt you so much, but it sounded like you were talking about people getting emails, whereas my impression of this thing is that you just go online and Google
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
that's also happening. Ooh,
Ooh, what is that?
so a very large truck is going by somebody.
With a boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So this specific one from that Charlie's pointing out is advertising that isn't coming from the right person. So this says it's an ad, claims to be from Amazon, and in this case, we can see that it actually is from Amazon. So Google is pretty good about getting rid of fake ads fairly quickly. In fact, so when I'm trying to find one, I won't find one. And some people are just lucky enough to get that fake ad first. And the way the surge that's been happening recently is people are using brand names to claim to be McAfee, Amazon, Citibank, known brands.
Isn't that against the law?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me.
And how are you going to find some no-name person in another country halfway around the world?
Well, it seems like they should be leaving a trail that you could find out.
Surely, if you were to see the full article that Malwarebytes put up, it goes into a bunch of technical stuff that I can't follow, but it does
Okay.
show how those links work that go from where you thought you were to the
Yeah.
bad guys.
So in this case, it's a person in India. So now you have to call India and find this person among the billion people in India in order to try to arrest them.
So there's no safeguard, is what you're saying, is when that Google or whatever, if it's whatever, is trying to stop it and has like a firewall, so to speak, so that they can't do
Well,
that.
Google will let you see the chain of trust, they call it,
All right.
on an ad.
So in
So,
other words, if it's real, you can tell that it's real versus it's something else.
right, but you have to be suspicious of it to look in the first place.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
too many people aren't, and they just click on the first result in a Google search and think they're at the right place. And suddenly, you know, a virus scanner pops up and says they're infected with a virus.
If I
Or,
can butt in, if
Yeah,
I
How
go
can
do you
butt in,
get, how do you get to the detail?
that three dot thing at next to the Amazon and the ad.
yeah.
Show 'em.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Let me go back to Amazon.
Yeah, I
So,
see it. I see
yep.
it. Yes, I see.
so
Okay.
that brings up who that really came from,
Okay.
and you get more information about that specific link.
Very, very interesting. So good to know.
If I can butt in one more time, my conclusion, speaking as an ignoramus, which I am, was that if I Google something and the search comes up, and let's say I put in Amazon.com, and the screen comes up in Google search, and it starts with an ad for Amazon.com. What I should do is go down until I see just the link for Amazon.com, not in an ad. And that's a good way to start. And for instance, I had occasion a couple of months ago to search for a 48-volt light bulb. And an ad came up for a company called lightbulbs.com. And the thing about it is that what I should do in that case is then separately, independently, not click on that ad, but go to lightbulbs.com and then search within their site for the 48-volt bulb.
Yeah, we're at a point where it's difficult to trust even links you get from a search. And
Sad.
most of the search engines are pretty good about catching those fake links, but sometimes it takes an hour. The advertising network is so automated because there's billions of ads placed every second that it's also disparate, where you've got millions of people creating ads and putting ads in websites, and ironically, Google is one of the biggest advertisers, but they are trying to catch the fake ads, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and with billions of impressions every day, somebody's going to get caught by it in that 5 minutes before the ad is taken down.
Okay, I'd like to cut in with another question now. While you're in that search, I didn't notice whether the company lightbulbs.com came up. Can you scan down and see if they show?
What a light. McMaster.
Or if they don't show right away, what you could do is just Google lightbulbs.com.
Yeah. And a lot of times that will give you the what's the word I want? How well behaved they are, their reputation.
Like a customer trust level or something like that.
Yeah.
But what? Okay, now that you've got that,
or you'll see a bunch of people asking, "Is it legit?"
right. Now, while you got that up there, though, God, I'm moving my cursor around like it's going to do any good. Can you go up to lightbulbs.com there, and underneath it says www.lightbulbs.com, and then it's got the 3-dot more menu. Can you click on that and see if it shows anything about where it first came from? It looks like what it's showing is the same URL of the www.lightbulbs.com, right?
Right, but it knows this URL was first indexed by Google more than 10 years ago. So that's an indication that it's a reputable link. It wasn't created yesterday.
Right.
To be created as a scam.
Right. Okay. So in other words, on a regular website, you could also use that 3-dot more menu
Yeah.
to look for some authentication.
Let's see what it says about us. More than 10 years ago, yep. So let's see, what do they say more about us? Nothing.
Huh.
Well, because this service is a beta. Who knows how long it's been in beta? Google is kind of notorious for making new features and calling them beta, and then if you're having a problem with it, they say, well, it's just a beta.
If you click on the beta there, does anything happen?
No.
No. Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, I think that seems, to critique this, but it seems to me like the answer, the remedy to the problem that I came up with is probably a good way to go.
Yeah, so it's getting hard to trust search results. Just like you can't trust pop-up messages. But in many cases, the search engine, it used to be that Bing was the worst. Let me see how Yahoo.
Am I correct that DuckDuckGo is based on Bing?
It was based on Google to begin with. I'm not sure if it still is.
Okay. What do you know about a search engine called Brave?
Yeah, search engine, and they also have a browser too, similar to DuckDuckGo's browser, where they claim to be more secure and not better at protecting your identity. So DuckDuckGo is searching for Brave. So one of the things that they claim is that they don't have trackers. So let's see. Yep, no trackers on this website. So if I search for something,
I'm sorry, Steve, where did you go to find that answer?
I have a program called Ghostery installed.
I'm having difficulties getting in.
And so this is, I don't know if you can see it on your screen. It's a little ghost in my toolbar. It's called Ghostery.
Yeah,
and
right.
it displays trackers and ad links and things that are on a page. So if I pause tracking, so Ghostery is paused. So now it's going to show me the tracking sites on this page, and still none. So that's one of the things and very similar to how DuckDuckGo works. In fact, let's check that. DuckDuckGo versus Brave.
And when you get a chance, Steve, Rick is having trouble getting permission to access webcams. He can't seem to get.
He has to go into his system settings and give the browser permission.
Browser permission?
Yeah. So if it would Safari, Chrome, whatever browser he's using.
He's using Chrome. But he thought it might be a Ventura thing because it's the only new thing.
And then in the browser, there's a secondary preference to enable camera and microphone in the settings for Chrome.
Okay. All right, I will go into that.
Steve, that Ghostery thing, is that a separate app in your computer? Or is it an extension on your browser
It's a browser plugin.
plugin? So you'd need to put it on Chrome and on Safari if you happen to have those two on your machine.
Right. So it blocks trackers. It also blocks ads. But many websites don't work when the ads are blocked. So that's why it's kind of nice that it has a pause option so you can let ads through. Now Safari and I think and Chrome too have now started blocking third-party trackers by default. The concern is that since Google is an advertiser through their DoubleClick service, is that considered a first-party tracker, and is it allowed through? Let's see. One of the things I always like showing, if we go to Democrat and Chronicle, and then go to the Ghostery link, see if I pause. So you start seeing the trackers fill in very quickly on a website. So especially, you know, newspaper websites, only business is to serve ads. So it's not surprising that they have a lot of ads and trackers. But one thing I have been surprised by is how many. I've seen over 100 on some DNC websites. And then Safari has its own tracker blocking. So Safari blocked 60 trackers from DNC. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So Safari blocked 60 of them, and then Ghostery blocked 29 more. So the ones that made it through Safari are being blocked by Ghostery. But it can be problematic to run an ad blocker because a lot of websites won't work. Sometimes you'll get a message saying, you know, please disable your ad blocker, but sometimes just things come up empty and you have to remember that you've got an ad blocker on to turn them off so you can get to that website.
I use a thing called, and when I got it, I thought it said Mercury Reader, but I think it's called Postlight Reader. I don't have general ad blocking on my machines, but when I go into USA Today, for example, it gets so messy that I just have to click on that Postlight Reader thing or something like that and clear everything out.
Yeah.
And you sometimes you lose some photo captions and things like that. And then I'll click it off again and go if I want to go back and look at something, but it helps to know what the heck is the article really is before I do that.
Safari has a reader view built in to the left of the address in the address bar, and that brings up just the text of that article. So it is blocking all the pictures involved in that article, but it gives you the text. So that's similar to what that can do. So let's see what this is up to. So Ghostery's up to 29. Safari's up to 69. So there's 100 trackers on the DNC website.
I'm sorry. Where are you seeing those numbers?
When I bring down the click on the Safari little shield icon in Safari, it shows me how many trackers this website is blocking.
Can you do it again,
Being
please?
blocked. Yeah. To the left of the address bar is a little shield.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's making its way into the stream because it's a separate window.
Oh.
I mean, I'm looking at YouTube. Yeah, when I click it, it's not coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
Looks like Rick still has a
Yeah,
problem.
he's still having trouble with it. He went into Chrome and it's got all the things saying that websites can ask for use of camera and microphone. and he's got those things checked. But when he clicks on the little camera thing in Mastermind, it says you need permission.
So did he give it system permission first?
I don't know how you do that,
In the
so I
system
don't know whether he
settings?
did. He went into preferences, so that preferences, he's in Ventura, so it doesn't come up as preferences, it comes as settings.
Right, system settings. And then under
And he went in
privacy
yeah.
and security.
privacy and security. I
Yep.
think that's what he looked under. I
And
couldn't
then
tell you. He's in the other room.
and then there's microphone and camera. So in system
Yeah.
settings, you allow the application to access the devices.
All right.
And then in Chrome
Okay.
preferences, you allow the website to access the device.
All right. So he has to go system preference settings. System preferences.
System settings in Ventura. Let me.
System settings in Ventura. First.
There, but which one?
Steve's looking it up.
Privacy and security.
Privacy and security. And then microphone and camera,
And then
right?
microphone and camera, yeah. So I've got
That's what he did.
microphone turned on for Chrome.
Requested access to your microphone here.
Right. So there's where you turn the application on to be able to access the mic and camera.
All right. So do you have Google Chrome turned on under camera?
It's not appearing.
He's not getting that. He's not getting those things to click on.
Well, that's why it doesn't have permission. Why is it not listed? There's no add. All right. So where is it? Is it in the Google settings? So under cameras, sites can ask to use your camera.
Yeah.
And then you can choose each specific site.
And where's that? It's underneath. It's way down.
I just searched
Okay,
for
so-
camera.
So-
I never
so
know
down
where any
below-
settings are. So if I go down Fire and Mastermind Lounge has permission to use the camera. I bet if I click that button, it will turn off the camera. So I will not click that button.
Does it have to do with Ventura at
No.
all? No. Oh, okay.
Every OS you have to give permission to applications to access services.
Okay.
You're echoing.
You're echoing, Linda. I keep hearing myself again.
I can put my AirPods in.
Yeah, that would help.
Okay.
Then the microphone will pick up the speaker. I can mute her temporarily. One of the cats is out here snoring really, really loud. I'm surprised you can't hear it.
Oh, that's Baby. She gets to town and she is very loud.
All right, let's go back to that. Alrighty. Any other? Oh, yeah, we're starting to go into this. So, which is better, Brave or DuckDuckGo? Ask 100 people, get 110 answers.
Cool.
Chirp. So, do they have a bottom line? If you want features to enhance your privacy, use Brave, but if you want private browsing, use DuckDuckGo. So that doesn't make any sense. Looks like they're both pretty much the same.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So do you think Rick's is working?
No. He thinks it may be that he's at a machine that technically isn't supposed to be able to be on Ventura, and he did something in order to allow him to use Ventura.
So it may not have a
And
driver.
he thinks that may be the problem.
Tell him to open FaceTime or Photo Booth, one of the built-in apps, and see if it can see the camera.
Okay, I heard that.
Okay. He's gonna try it.
All right.
Alrighty. No, sneak peek. Nope, don't look at that.
FaceTime works with the camera.
FaceTime works with the camera, he says.
Okay. So it's got to be a permission issue. I don't know. Quit Chrome and relaunch, and then
Quit Chrome and relaunch.
and then when it asks again for permission, try to make sure you give it.
I think he had it set to start with to give permission, but I couldn't be sure. I told him to relaunch.
Alrighty. All right. Anyone else have any other non-Apple related news or questions? Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Yes, a couple. For some reason in my Mac mail, I have indicated something as a favorite, and I don't know how to unfavorite it. I don't know. I did it in the first place, but.
You mean a VIP? I don't know how to do favorites in mail, but I know VIPs.
I don't know how I knew it said a favorite.
You can have a favorite mailbox.
I guess it's. I don't.
Let me see.
I tried to move the mailbox and it won't move, and because it's up at the top under all mailboxes, drafts sent. Then this is my file, and I want to move it down, and I can't. And
Oh, yeah, those favorites you don't move. They are favorites.
well,
if you want to remove it from
Bless you.
favorites, you right-click on it or control-click on it and say remove from favorites.
oh, okay.
So it
All
turns
right.
out that it's a Chrome issue because I'm using Safari and I can at least get the camera and the sound to work.
Yeah, it was probably a permission setting in Chrome that wouldn't see the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, I got 9 photos on my screen. I think that's the most we've ever had. 9 video feeds.
Yeah, Safari brought up the dialogue that I needed to answer to give permission for the camera and for the audio microphone. But that never came up in Chrome.
It probably will next time then.
Maybe.
It's always frustrating when you don't change anything and you get different answers.
Yep.
Okay, I have another one.
Yep.
For tags, like I tag a lot of things. Is there a way to add more colors than just the colors that they give you?
You can change the colors that there are, but I don't think you can add new tags. Let me see.
Okay.
There's an all tag. Is there a new tag button in there? Oh, let's do search Mac, add tag.
Change glasses.
So here we can use tags. How do you make a new tag? In Finder Preferences, under Tags.
Oh, let's see. Okay, where are Finder Preferences?
In the Finder, under the Finder menu.
While she's looking, have seen tags or whatever, but I don't know what they are or how you use them.
It's a way of color coding a file. So it'll have a color in front of the file list. Let me see if they have a picture of that.
Are you talking about files as they show in the Finder window?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a tag section in the sidebar where you can tag a file.
All right.
And then you can search by tag. So you can have tag important files read. So then you can go back and find all the tags that are read later. I have my financial documents are tagged green for money.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my Finder open, and so it's up at the top under Finder?
Yep, go to the Finder menu and choose Preferences.
I don't have a preference.
Settings?
It says
Are you running Ventura?
setting.
Yeah. Whenever
No,
I say
I'm running-
Preferences, and they've renamed that to Settings in Ventura. Hello.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
I don't see how to add a color though.
Hit the plus button at the bottom of the list.
Hello?
Okay, but it just shows the tags, or it says favorite tags.
Right, and you hit the plus button and it makes a new one, and you can name it and give it a new color
Where do I get the color?
from the color picker.
Well, the color picker only has the favorite tags colors that I already have. Oh, okay, so I can name it, but
And let's see, where was make a new color. Alright, Command I will bring up the file information, and then you can add the tag. You can have more than one tag on a file. You can search for a tag. Let's search for color. Custom colors. The colors are limited to palette. How to add a tag. Huh. So this is a stupid article. How do you add more tag colors? And the answer is you don't.
okay.
But you can add multiple tags to a file to give it more than just one color.
Yes, I know that. Okay.
So every now and then they add something that's a really cool idea, and then it never catches on, but then it's still in there from a long time ago.
Okay, because I use this all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you can rename the color. So it's a name, not a color. But you're limited to those colors. 7 colors, and that's it. Oh, so
Okay.
it's the 6 colors of the Apple logo plus white.
White?
I bet that's what it is. Let's see if we go Apple 6 color logo. Yeah. Green, yellow, orange, red, purple, blue.
Yeah, and then there's a gray.
And then there's a gray and a white.
Oh, I don't know that I've seen the white.
It's interesting. I have a white color somehow, but it isn't listed in my color palettes. I wonder if that's left over from when white used to be a color. And they took white away, but they took custom colors away, but I had one that was that color. But I can't add. If I show all, yeah, then I can add important and work. So how did I do that?
Do what?
Have another color. Did I make a new tag and not give it a color? Yeah,
You
you make a new tag and don't give it a color, and then you get white.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you just name it.
So that does give you some choice.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I did learn something there.
Cool. It's always good.
Yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of stories about Apple's first 6-color logo. It was extremely expensive to print because it was 6 custom colors. Actually, do people remember Apple's first logo? Newton sitting under a tree with an apple about to fall on his head. But this was way beyond the capabilities of any of the commercial printers at the time. I think this was Ron Wayne's sketch, the third forgotten founder of Apple. He panicked after a couple of weeks and sold his 10% stake back to the Steves for $800. Today he could have 10% of $2 trillion.
All right, well, are you ready to do your main presentation?
I think so. Does anyone has any other questions? Unrelated?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was looking at a video about tags, and what you can do is tag it with 2 colors.
Yep.
I didn't hear any mention of that. That's the equivalent of really having a third color or a non-listed color. So if it shows that you can tag, like it shows an example, 3 files are tagged blue, and 1 is tagged green, and then they tag that green one also blue, so it's blue-green. So when you search for blue files, the blue-green also shows up, or if you search for green files, the blue-green shows up. So the video I looked at was Apple Online Academy, Mac for Beginners user finder tags to organize files on a Mac. So,
yeah, the one I've been showing is from Mac Myths, custom tag colors.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hopefully this is a quick question. I'm working with my server with Apache under Ventura. It comes with version 2 point, is it 4.56 or something like that. And the most current version is 0.57. I went to the Apache website. I was able to download what's supposed to be the new version, but there's no good instructions as to how to install it without using Homebrew.
Yeah, you have to use a package manager like Homebrew because it's not a Mac application.
So there's no other way to do it? That seems ridiculous.
No, it's not a Mac application.
But Apple ships it with the Mac.
No, they ship it in the Unix layer because it comes with Unix. So you do all your management and updating at the Unix layer.
Yeah, that's true. I do that. I'm saying, isn't there a way to install it without using Homebrew? There should be.
Use one of the other package managers.
So you're thinking like Tomcat or something like that?
Probably. Although Homebrew is probably the most common.
Right. I thought maybe there was a Unix way of doing it.
All right. They're using the Nano editor to edit the welcome HTML. It's possible on GitHub you might find a DMG installer, but I wouldn't think that would be very likely. Maybe even at apache.org, but they probably send you to GitHub for the source code.
Well, yeah, that's where I went. I went to apache.org.
Here's one from May. Yeah, and they're using Brew to put in PHP and Apache.
Yeah. The one thing I don't like about Brew is it ends up putting your files in a different place, and then you've got to rewrite your paths for everything to access it from a different file folder.
Yeah. So for everyone else, Homebrew is a way of installing Unix programs in the Unix layer of macOS. So you have the ability to add almost all of the millions of Unix programs that are available. Apple used to include a server app that gave you access to the web server and the mail server and the update server and all the server software that used to come. Well, it still comes in the Mac, but now there's no GUI for it anymore, so you have to do everything at the terminal. I've been fighting with FileMaker trying to add an SSL cert, and it's been fighting me for months now, and I try it, working on it, and then I get annoyed and give up, and then come back.
That's kind of how
back
it
to it in a
goes.
few weeks. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it.
Let's see. Let's try Mac. Apache installer. No, I gotta spell Apache right. httpd.apache.org. How's that? There's the source code.
Yep, that's it. That's where I was. See, I was trying to get 2.4.57 there.
Yeah, so download the source code and compile it yourself.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that would even mean on a Mac.
Yeah, whatever language it's written in, you'd have to get a compiler for that language. So Apache is one of the more common web servers on the internet. So if you want to run your own web service, you could run Apache on your computer. most people don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff and hire someone else to do it on their server. Rick is a glutton for punishment.
Apparently. Yeah, I'm running 2.4.56. I would just like to go to the next version, but it's tougher than it seems.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, I know what I had this past. It was actually today. I was working with text edit and working with pages, and when I printed the text edit message, it was a smaller font for some reason. I don't know why. So then I used Pages, and Pages, the size was fine. So I decided to write my document in Pages, and I'm typing along, and the next thing I know, the thing starts double spacing instead of single spacing. And I went in and tried to change it back to single space, and it just fought me all the way. So I finally had to start a brand new document and retype it. Luckily, I wasn't that far in, but is that a bug or what the hell's going on?
Did you paste anything in from anywhere else? Because sometimes the paste can include formatting. If you go to the edit menu, quite often there's a paste and match style or a paste and no formatting option. Sometimes it's Command Shift V instead of Command V for paste. I see that.
I made the mistake of starting with one of Apple's suggested templates.
So it probably had style sheets built into it.
And so then once that was the case, then the thing wanted to keep following me around. It didn't matter where I went.
Yeah, so they probably have it set so your first line is a heading, and then when you hit return, start a new paragraph, then it's a section head, and then start a new paragraph, and it's a body, and so it's changing the size and fonts for each one of the formats in the template.
I found it very unhelpful, and it was like the machine was fighting me.
Yep.
I was not happy.
Well, you picked a template. You're supposed to want to do that.
I'm never doing that ever again.
Yeah. All right, Larry, you had your hand up here. Let's. What was your question today?
Just quickly, is there a decent alternative out there that anyone knows for Microsoft OneNote?
I use Apple's Notes, and that works really
Apple
good.
Notes?
Yeah.
Apple Notes.
And it syncs with all of the Apple devices. There are hundreds of different.
Is it already on the device?
Yep. Looks like a yellow legal pad.
Yeah, okay.
And
I already knew that. I was just checking to see if you knew.
Yeah.
I love it.
They have been adding more and more features in Notes. You have automatic bullets and check marks. I use, let me see if I can bring a window up here. I use a check mark box for my grocery list. And so when I get it, I can check it off. And then it moves to the bottom of the list once I've checked it off, which is kind of neat. So the ones I haven't got are still at the top. They've added, on the iPad, they've added scribble support so that you can draw with the pencil and everything syncs back to your Mac. You can password protect Notes.
Okay, I've used Notes before, but for some reason it just escaped me as a decent alternative to OneNote.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it has.
In the very early days, it was pretty weak in what it could do. It was basically just text.
Yeah. Okay, but I use it to take a lot of notes at meetings because it it goes across all my other products, and so if I open up my laptop or what have you, is not the desktop or even iPad, it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know why I hadn't considered using Note in itself to replace it.
There was one I remember years ago, and I'll probably never find it again, but it would actually record audio and transcribe the audio for you. So you could record a meeting, and you could
Yeah.
you could see the transcription, and it would jump. So you scroll through the audio, and it would jump you to that point in the transcriptions.
But that's not on the latest version of Notes as it presently is it?
No, this was a third-party app.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. When the meeting's over, I'm going to have to go to Notes and refresh myself, because I do use it, but it's like I said, I use it primarily for just very small things and not actually keeping track of what's being said at a meeting.
Yep.
I got to try that.
Oh, here's one. Otter AI. Voice meeting notes and real-time transcription. Oh, well, yeah, they're using AI. That's the big thing now. You got to use AI.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to make that leap just yet. I suppose I
Yep.
will.
Oh, they have a non-AI one.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah, I see that.
Andy Anatko loves Scrivener. He talks about that a lot on his.
Yeah, I've seen Scrivener. I've just never used it.
It's more of a word
Never downloaded
processor
it.
and as an outliner. That's popular.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now this one is when I'm using it, it's primarily for bullets, taking notes of what's said in bullet form.
Yeah.
And I take them copiously so I can go back and remind myself of what other people said.
Yeah.
Or even what I might have said at the meeting. So I'm going to give Notes a try the next time and see if that will do it.
Yeah.
Because I know it will automatically open up on everything else I have.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
We used to use one at work called Notebook from Circus Ponies, and it looks like they're gone. I just like the name of the company, too. Circus Ponies.
Steve, I got a couple items for you when you're ready.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Larry. You talked about password protected notes. I had gone into Notes and I'd gone to Help, and I guess the term I had seen was secure notes, so I tried searching for that and got nothing. But did I have searched for password protected in the Help and Notes? Because I'd be interested in knowing.
Apple does call it secure notes. Let's see. There's a Lock Now button in the Notes app. Let's see if I can find it in my Notes app. Yeah, there's a little padlock icon, and I can lock the note.
Are you looking at that now? I don't see that on the screen share.
No, well, yeah, that's all. The screen sharing is only showing the Safari window describing how to get to it.
But that's okay. So in other words, if I go into a note, in fact, I can do that. I think without maybe I won't lose the meeting. So I'm into a note here, and I'm looking. Oh, there's a padlock.
Yep.
And I hover, and it says add or remove password locks, and that would do it, huh?
Yep.
Groovy, thank you.
So you can use your same login password, or you can make a separate password for that note.
Right, super. I have another question that occurs to me now, and this is, I use Gmail in a browser, not in the Mail app, and not in any other kind of like Gmail app or something like that. Most of the time it works just fine. Once in a while, I will get an email where the text has expanded into what I call super wide screen. And I have to shift back and forth across the text of the email to read it. And it's happened very few times. A couple times were when things that George Engel sent out. And then I had one from one of my sisters, and actually her email started out perfectly normal, and then we got going back and forth a few times, and in one of those times, it went into this like super wide vision thing, and we couldn't figure it out. I looked in Gmail settings, and I couldn't see a heading for it that made sense to me. I was just curious if anybody here in the meeting had experienced this and knew how to fix it or anything.
Well, it says under settings, under general, you should see default text style. So that's for new messages. So if someone creates a message with a larger font, you should see it that way at your end.
Right. Yeah, and when it goes into the what I call the super wide screen thing, it also shrinks the font down.
Mm-hmm.
But
you could
but
try. What is it? It's Command 0 in Safari. What is it in Chrome? Yeah, Command 0 sets the font size back to default. So if something is too big or too small, try Command 0. It may set it back to normal.
Yeah, I think I fiddled around with that a little bit. Like I would try to select the entire text of something and then go down to the bottom where it you can pick, small, medium, or large or whatever, and pick a larger one. And I don't remember whether it actually increased the font size, but it did not fix the super wide thing.
That may be a different font even. Control and mouse wheel changes the size. So maybe you're accidentally changing it somewhere along the way. Something hits the control key on the keyboard while you're scrolling in the window.
It changes the size of the letters, the text font size, or does it change the display of the text on the screen? Because what I'm dealing with is a display of a text on a screen.
Yes, it's what I'm reading here, that you can change the font size in your browser. Now on the that's what I've got. My Mac control scrolls zooms the entire screen. So maybe that's a Chrome issue. This doesn't say which browser.
Could it be the font his sister is using?
Possibly, if she is using a font you don't have, your computer could be having trouble trying to render it.
That's an interesting question. Yeah. I believe I've looked at my Gmail in both Chrome and Safari, and I believe that in that particular email, the problem was the same in both. But anyway, if nothing springs to mind, don't go crazy looking for it, because it's entirely possible that I'm not either describing it right, or I'm not encountering it in a way of using the email that makes sense to anybody else. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, so on mine, Command minus is making it smaller, Command plus is making it bigger. Command 0 sets it back to normal. But that's normal as how the other end created it.
Okay.
So this is a rich text message. It actually might be an HTML message, because it's got links and it's got fonts and colors. So we had 105 visitors to our website last month. Woohoo. There goes the cat. That's Widget. Alrighty, I need to go get a drink. Shall we take a 10-minute break and then go into WWDC?
Sounds good.
All right. Very slowly coming back. She was there, yeah. She's in the meeting.
I can't hear anything.
What do you want to hear? Can you hear me now, Shirley?
Can you sing a song for me?
Who are you talking to, Kim?
Oh, I don't know, anyone. You said, what do you want to hear? So I said, hey, sing a
Oh,
song.
yeah.
Pretend it's karaoke.
Sing Temptation.
What?
Did you ever hear of Dorothy Shea and the Park Avenue Hillbilly?
No.
Well, that's from my parents' younger years. And she and her group there used to do things, and they did this one of a Salvation Army band playing and singing on a street corner, and some drunk shows up and says, "Sing Temptation." And the lady in charge of the band says, "Sir, we do not perform that kind of music." And he says, "Well, then put up your dukes," or some shit like that. But anyway, that was how people had fun back then. Cigarettes and whiskey and wild, wild women. They'll drive you crazy. They'll make you insane.
I went on this bus trip yesterday from the rec center to play miniature golf, and one of the men on there, I'm not sure how old he was, but he looked pretty old, and he said he used to sing with Perry Como's band, and
Really?
he used to go in the service. He was in special, I forget what it is, not special forces, but something where he went around singing and saluted the guys in Korea and everything, and got to travel quite a bit. And he was in Perry Como. He said he went on Bob Hope tours, all sorts of stuff.
What was that called? The
It was special something.
it
It was called the USO.
There you go.
No, it wasn't that. It had a different name. He said special.
Special effects.
No, something like a special group within that did it. When I was in, there was a girl that I was friends with when we left basic training, and she was going into that as a singer, kind of thing, to tour around and do stuff like that. So, but I can't think of the name. But
Sammy Nestico and the Airmen of Note.
Never heard of it.
Oh, how's that grab you? Sammy Nestico was a band leader when he was in the Air Force. His Air Force band was called the Airmen of Note.
Oh, that's interesting. I've seen the singing sergeants from the Air Force, which was interesting. But all right, proceed, Steve.
Not hearing anything.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Helps to unmute my mic. So the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference was held last week, which is a gathering of developers. Typically, Apple shows off new operating systems, but they frequently take the opportunity to do new hardware that's coming so that developers can write software for it. On our website, I posted a recap, 12 minutes long. So we're gonna go longer than that. Nope. Here's another recap from The Verge that's 26 minutes long on everything that was announced. But we're gonna go through some of the big ones. Probably one of the biggest rumors that was out was the 15-inch MacBook Air. We've started getting them in. We've put together a couple of them for customers, and it's amazingly thin, like the MacBook Air has been, but seeing that expansive 15-inch screen, it's one of the first times Apple has done a large screen on a low-end computer, although low-end is pretty suggestive in this case because it's an M2 processor. Let's go into this button. The MacBook Air has always been their entry-level, less expensive model, and the 13-inch used to be 11 and 13. and then 13 for a long time. So now we've got the 15-inch model. And like the previous 13-inch model, it's got the MagSafe 3 and 2 USB ports. So you don't lose one of your USB ports by plugging in your power. Very thin. And one of the most surprising things is it starts at $12.99. Years ago, there was a Microsoft commercial where they sent someone into an Apple store. She wanted to buy a 17-inch computer but didn't want to spend more than $1,000 for it. And at the time, Apple's 17-inch machine was $3,000 because it was the high end of the product line. Apple's always had their what they call their good, better, best, and it's been small screen, 13, 15, 17. You could only get the big screen in the high-end computers. So now we've got a 15-inch screen for $12.99, and in order to do that, they had to drop the original model to $10.99, and then the M1 MacBook Air is still $9.99. So relatively inexpensive for the M2 chip, and 13 and 15, everything's recyclable. Let's see, it's not that much heavier. Let's see, this is faster than the M1. So if you have an Intel Mac now and you're thinking of upgrading, the M1 was significantly faster than any of the Intel models. The M2 is ridiculously faster than the Intel models. We'll see in a little bit on some of the newer ones. And also, you up to 18 hours of battery life. So it's the joke with all-day battery was it was 7 hours of battery life because that's all day minus an hour for lunch. So you better not have a long work day. Let's see, all the regular Mac stuff. All right, so let's go to up here. So the 15-inch available in the same 4 colors the 13-inch was available in. The M2 processor with 8 CPU cores and 10 GPU cores. The 15.3-inch screen. The previous MacBook Pro was a 15.4, so it's a little bit smaller screen, but the tiny bezels make it look a lot bigger than it is. 500 nits of brightness, so it's a very, very bright screen. 18 hours of battery life when you're watching the Apple TV app. And as I mentioned earlier, it's got the MagSafe 3, 2 Thunderbolt USB 4 ports, and it still has the headphone jack.
Amazing.
Amazing, yeah. So if we go to, let's see, let me go to buy. One of the things that is always kind of fun. So as I mentioned, the M1 13-inch Air is $9.99. They dropped the price of the M2 Air to $10.99 in the 13-inch, and now the 15-inch is $12.99, and that's with 8 RAM and 256 storage. And you go to $14.99 for 8 RAM and 512 storage. I always like maxing everything out to see what the max comes up to be. So they can go up to 24 gigs of RAM, which isn't enough for pro work. So there's still a need for the pro models, but for most people, the 8 gig is enough. If you think you're going to be doing, photo or video editing, 16 is fine, but you can go to 24. And up to 2 terabytes of storage. And it comes with a 35-watt dual USB-C adapter, so you can charge your computer and your phone on one charger, or a faster 70-watt charger. And we're still at $24.99, so that's the maxed out 15-inch. What's kind of interesting, let me go back one and hit compare, is that for $12.99, Mac compare, $12.99 for the 15-inch Air is the same price as the 13-inch Pro. And so the $12.99, you get to decide whether you want the 15-inch screen, or in the Pro model, it comes with a fan. So theoretically, it can work harder because the fan keeps it cooler, and it has the touch bar. And so that is an advantage that some people still like. But it's interesting that the prices are the same, the Air versus the Pro. There's almost no reason to get the 13-inch Pro. It's it's the same chip as the Air, so it's not really any faster. Theoretically, let's max it out too. Theoretically, the Pro can be faster because it's got the fan. But in some of the real world tests we heard of people doing, you've still only got same $24.99. You had to render 8K video in order to really tax the processor, and even then the Pro didn't work any much faster. So there's almost no reason to get a Pro, the 13-inch Pro, because the Air is less expensive and just as fast. If you do need a Pro machine, then you would move up to the 14-inch Pro, and that comes with the M2 Pro or M2 Max processors. So that gives you even more power, but now you're at $12.99. So for $16,512, you get an Air for, was it $16.99, or you get a Pro for $19.99. And in this case, the M2 Pro chip is that much faster than the M2, so that you do get a performance benefit if you're dealing with large audio or video files. That's one of the reasons I got the 14-inch Pro, is because of all the video and audio streaming. And so that extra processor really helps. And so if we max out the 14-inch, we can go to, so is a 30-core GPU enough, or if you want 38-core GPU? So if you do a lot of Final Cut or Photoshop rendering, that extra GPU may work. Now, the other addition that the Pro gives you is up to 96 gigs of RAM, rather than 24 on the Air, and up to 8 terabytes of storage. So now we're $6,300. And that's the 14-inch. One of the things that I like that Apple has done with the 16-inch, it's the same internal hardware. So 96 gig, 8 terabyte, 6,400. It's just $200 more for the extra screen size. So again, it's not, you don't have to go for the 16 to get the best power. You can get the most powerful machine in the smaller, lighter laptop, which is why I went with the 14-inch. It's lighter than the 16, but still just as powerful. And so that gives us the laptop lineup now with the M2 and M2 Pro and M2 Max. So when Apple released the M2 Max, they showed that it was two Pros hooked together, basically. And that became the Max processor. So you've got, instead of 19-core GPU, you've got 30 up to 38 core, and 16 gig of RAM versus 32, because it doubles it to begin with, and then all the way up to 96 gigs at the highest end. So even $6,000 for a laptop isn't horrible for what the performance you're getting. But there are people, video editing, Hollywood type commercials, where they do need even more. And for that, Apple introduced the new Mac Studio. And the Mac Studio has the M2 Max, the same as in the laptops. But then you put two Maxes together and you get an Ultra. And so an Ultra is 4 Pros. So really, really fast. And it's got all your expansion ports. So you get 4 USB Thunderbolts, you get Ethernet, 2 USB A's, HDMI, and a headphone jack. Yeah, courage. And let's see, where's the picture of the front? On some of the models, there's also 2 front Thunderbolt ports, which is handy. So the M2 Max with 12-core CPU and 38-core GPU, or you double that to get to the Ultra, and then up to 192 gigs of RAM on the Ultra. Does it show? Yeah, here is the chip itself. So there's the two chips tied together. So really super fast. Memory bandwidth up to 800 gigabytes per second with a capital B. So you get ridiculous performance out of it. And let's go into buy. So there's the front of it. You've got two USB Thunderbolt 4 ports and an SD card reader on the front where you can access it easily now. That was a nice addition again. So if we look at the Ultra and max it out, so we want the full 76-core GPU, 192 gigs of RAM, and 8 terabytes of storage. We're only at, we're $8,800. And this machine is typically what you would use at real high-end audio editing, video editing, things like that. So we've sold quite a few of these to our video production agencies because they need that type of performance out of the machine. So this is the second gen of the Mac Studio with the M2 processor in it. Previously it had the M1. So the M2 over the M1 is about 25% faster. Although if you do have an M1 model, it probably isn't worth getting an M2. But there are some people that do need to have slots. And the final computer in the Apple Silicon transition now is the new Mac Pro using Apple Silicon with the new M2 Ultra, which again is 2 Maxes or 4 Pros. And up to 24-core CPU, 76-core GPU, 800 gigabytes per second throughput. So this all says everything is super whiz-bang faster. Here is Logic. No, this is Avid Pro Tools. So I can't even count how many tracks there are. So Pro Tools is a professional audio editing program for mixing, professional level records. Was that like 30 or 40 tracks loaded? DaVinci Resolve is a video editing. Autodesk Maya is 3D modeling. Let's see, Slide Effects, Houdini. Back to Avid Pro Tools. So super whiz-bang fast. And you get expansion slots. You get 7 PCI expansion slots with up to 300 watts of power. So functionally, this looks like the existing Mac Pro, the Intel model, but you have the extra the slots inside now, and the this picture doesn't show the chip, but it's basically the same outside computer. They've upgraded the inside of the computer for the Apple Silicon. Multiple fans, multiple cooling things. The airflow on it is pretty interesting. Jokingly called the cheese grater. So on the back of it, we've got 6 Thunderbolt USB 4 ports, 2 HDMI and 2 USB-A, and on the top are 2 more Thunderbolt ports. So that was always with the Mac Pro. You've got expansion externally, but the PCI slots give you expansion internally. Quite often you'll see video capture cards. So if you're doing like a live video shoot, you might have 20 cameras scattered around a venue, and so you need to be capturing all of that video at the same time, and that's where something like a Mac Pro would come in. Let's see, and with or without wheels, rack mount or foot mount, and the wheels are $400 like they were before. And so the case is sort of pretty much the same. You have a turning lock on top. The outer case comes off, and there you have the inside case in all its glory. Double wide slots available, because a lot of times PCR cards will come with a fan on the card, because the computers are so hot, they need that extra fan.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. And there's your wheels. It can run the Pro XDR display. It can run 6K displays or 8 4K machine displays. And new for the Mac Pro, it includes a keyboard and mouse. Previous models didn't include the keyboard and mouse, which was a little frustrating. So again, it comes in a tower or a rack. Starts at $7,000 or $75,000 for the rack, which is interesting. So you take the feet off, and it costs you $500 more. But that M2 Ultra chip, with all the extra media encoders and decoders to be able to do multiple streams of ProRes graphics. Yeah, so you can have up to 8 displays. So 8 4K, 6 3K, or a mix thereof. And if we go to buy, anyone remember what the last Mac Pro cost when you maxed it out? We jokingly did that at the meeting when they announced that, and it was over $50,000. Mostly because it had 1.5 TB of RAM, which was like $25,000 by itself. So here, the stock model is a 60-core GPU. We can go up to the 76-core GPU. 192 gigs of memory. That can be a limitation for some people that need huge amounts of memory. There are some data acquisition and data analysis. If you're doing genome tracking, you might need more memory than that. So we've already heard people complaining that it can only go to 192 gigabytes of RAM, which is just a ridiculous amount for most people. 8 terabytes of storage. Let's get the wheels. And we're only $12,000. So maxed out is only $12,000, so you can buy 4 of them for what you used to only buy one before. Now, admittedly, the Mac Pro is a very small market of people that need the PCI slots. You can get exactly the same performance out of a Mac Studio that you would out of a Mac Pro if you don't need the PCI cards. So let's go to here. Let's go to the Mac Studio M2 versus the Mac Pro M2. So the same processor available if you go with the Ultra versus the Ultra. So you can save a couple grand if you go with the Studio if you don't need any slots. A lot of expansion can be done through the Thunderbolt bus now. Back when the old trash can Macintosh didn't have any slots at all. Some companies like DaVinci and Blackmagic had Thunderbolt accessories, but internal PCI expansion is faster yet. So in the PC world, it's really common to have PCI expansion cards. So you've got a relatively small desktop or a giant tower. Some people just have to have that giant tower. We sold one Mac Pro tower when this model came out a couple years ago to a botanist, so he could do his presentations on flowers. You know, he didn't need to spend 20 grand, but he could, so we'll let him. And I got to play with it while we set everything up.
I should have gone into botany.
Yeah. I don't know how you get it. So he knew Irwin. So Irwin was African violets, right?
Right.
And Gerald is Gesnerids. And I always forget what they are.
Yeah, what were the African violets called? It was something like that.
Yeah, whatever their Latin name is. LOT. African violets. Oh, tell me the name. Streptocarpus. St. Paulina. That sounds like. So you have that option if you need the super whiz bang models, and if you know you need it, then you know you need it. If you don't know if you need it or not, you don't. And the MacBook Air will be more than enough for you. What's interesting is the iMac has not been updated. It's still an M1. It never got an M2. So there's a lot of rumors that they're going to just wait for the M3 to come out before they update the iMac, because the M1 iMac is plenty fast for the people that want a desktop. And even now, still, laptops outsell desktops, 3-to-1. So I can understand Apple not putting that much effort into a desktop. But the one thing they did do that we talked about when it happened, where is them? So a lot of people are upset that there's no, there we are, no 27-inch iMac, but you can get a Mac Mini with an M2 or M2 starting at $599 or an M2 Pro, and put either a third-party 27-inch monitor or even Apple's 27-inch monitor, which is $1,600, and you're still in that $2,000, $2,200 range that a 27-inch iMac used to be. So that option is available if you want a bigger screen. And there's a lot of advantages in having a separate computer, separate monitor, that when you outgrow your computer, you can replace it and still use the monitor. We've seen a lot of people who have outgrown their Mac, their iMac, or the iMac, is processor's too low, or the OS is too low, but the screen is still working fine. And unfortunately, there's no way to use that screen with any other computer. Apple stopped doing display mode quite a few years ago. So the M1 iMac is kind of the outlier. Everything else has been updated to M2. But now that the Mac Pro is at Apple Silicon, it completes their transition. Only I think they were 6 or 8 months late in their original 2-year suggestion that they thought they were going to get everything in 2 years, get everything transferred. So then they started talking about the new operating systems. Let me get that window back. And, oops, go all the way back to Apple. And we're going to jump over that for a minute. The new Mac Studio, the new Mac Pro. Did we talk about the savings account Apple opened, or Apple created? So if you have an Apple Card, instead of having your cash back go into just Apple Cash where it sits, you can actually put it in an Apple savings account at 4.15%, and earn some interest on your cash backs, which is pretty good. All right, so let's go up here to iOS. Where is iOS 17? So iOS 17 coming out. One of the biggest features everyone's talking about is this sort of docking mode, that if you have a magnetic charger and you put your phone on it to charge, it automatically goes into this docking mode that you can customize with what it has on it. And by default, it has a clock and a calendar showing your appointments, so you can keep up with things while you're charging your phone. Coming this fall, so the expectation is with the iPhone 15 in September. So they've made, and when someone calls you, and you can set it on your end as to what you're sending, instead of just sending a thumbnail picture like they have now, you can actually send a whole screen picture. So when you call someone, they see your whole face, or whatever, your whole picture. Here's someone that set the body. You set that up on your phone as to how you want your calls to be set to the other end. So you can have a memoji, you can have a picture. This feature I like to call answering machine mode. They have rediscovered answering machines from the 60s, 70s. Is that when answering machines first came out? So a lot of times, if your phone rings and it's an unknown number, you won't answer it, and then you go back and listen to the voicemail. Um, in the early days of voicemail, people were expecting answering machines, and so you would hear someone on your voicemail saying, "Hello, hello, are you there? Pick up, pick up," because they expected you to be screening it on your answering machine. Well, now you can do that again. So if you don't accept the call, it starts transcribing the voicemail they're leaving immediately. So you can see, oh yeah, that's Phil. I need to talk to him, or that's the doctor. I needed to answer that call, but I didn't recognize the number. So you get a live transcript of the voicemail as they're leaving it. So that's pretty handy to most people that get so much spam mail that spam phone calls that you don't even answer your phone calls anymore. They're up.
What is that? What is that? How is that? On what? My
This
audio was.
is iOS
messed up.
17.
Okay.
So it will automatically transcribe your voicemail as the voicemail is being received, so you can see if you needed to talk to them or not.
And can you then answer the call and
Yep.
talk to them, or do you call? You can.
Yep, there's an accept button to accept that call, or you can send them a message immediately. So
That's cool.
it's a way to screen your calls when you don't recognize the phone number coming in. Let's see, they're enhancing messages. There's a feature now that Maps has that a lot of people don't realize. You can share your ETA with anyone in Maps, and it will show them your progress. And so if you get with an estimated time of arrival, and if you get like stuck in traffic or something, it will update the person you're sharing with and say, they're stuck in traffic, they're going to be an extra 10 minutes. So they're adding that feature more in the forefront, so you can use that to tell people where you're coming with and when you're ready. So a lot of people, you're driving places, mom always says, call me when you get there. You can have that done automatically now in iOS 17 with locations. Audio messages are now transcribed, will be in iOS 17, are transcribed, so you don't have to just listen to the message, you can read the message. They've updated all their stickers, and you can make any photo a sticker. So if you have a photo that you like, you can make it a sticker to stick in your notes and messages. I guess I'm too old for stickers because I never really got into them. More stickers available, more places. FaceTime is interesting. If the person is not available to answer a FaceTime call, you can record a video or audio message for them. Excuse me. So if they don't answer, you can leave them a video message, which is kind of the point of doing a FaceTime call anyway. You're doing a video message. FaceTime on the Apple TV is going to be big. Now you don't have to cluster around a single phone. So you use one phone as the camera, and you'll have a FaceTime app on the Apple TV that everyone else will be able to watch. And you can move around different cameras. One of the things they showed is putting your phone up to the television. So now the phone cameras are showing everyone in the room, so you can do video chatting on your big screen television. Finally. Here's the standby mode. When you put your phone on its side while it's charging, it has new options. We can have just a giant clock if you want, or the song that's playing. So that's probably going to be one of the more popular features. Let's see, activities and Siri widgets. AirDrop by so you can now swap a contact information. So you can give someone your phone number over AirDrop. Normally, previously you had to go into contacts and then share your contact to them. That's going to be able to hand off even easier. So when you're hooking up with someone, you can get their numbers. Let's see how much far. Be able to do share play with two phones together. So so Apple's the Keynote is available on the web and in the Apple TV app, so you can watch the whole thing there. I'd recommend you do it if you're interested in all the new features. Journal. So the Journal app they have on the Mac now, they have added to iOS 17, and it syncs between them. More accurate keyboards. Let's see. You can have, this was interesting, you can have different profiles in Safari. So you can have a work profile and a personal profile. So right now, if you use your phone for both work and home, and say you do a Google search or a Facebook search for something, those ads will start showing up when you do other searches. So when you're at work trying to do a search, suddenly all the ads for the personal stuff showed up. So you can have a work profile and a personal profile, and you get different history, different extensions, different cookies. So it helps separate work and home if you use one phone. Or if you share a phone with your kids. One of the things I read once is that a woman she would take her boyfriend's phone at gift season and Google all the things she wanted on the boyfriend's phone. So the boyfriend started seeing all the ads for those things, which was pretty interesting.
I kind of like the topmost one there, private, no profile. That would be my selection.
Yeah. Yep. So sort of an extended from the private browsing you have now, with more privacy. Let's see. Share play, being able to listen to the music together. So if someone's in the car with you and they want to play a song to your CarPlay, they don't have to sync their phone to your car. They can just play the song. That's a nice option. Let's see. Adaptive audio. So there's so many features that it's difficult to go through them all. And like usual, there's going to be hundreds of articles covering all the new features you didn't know were there. You'll be able to download maps for offline use. So if you're going somewhere where there's limited cell phone, you can have the entire trip downloaded the maps into your phone, so that you'll be able to get to where you're going, even though you lose cell phone. You can now show charging stations on maps, so you can plot your course by charging station. So I got to get from charging station to charging station. You don't have to say "hey" anymore for the S word. You can just say the S word.
Steve,
Yep.
do you know whether the phone has that SOS feature when you can't get a cell connection?
In the iPhone 14 and later, yes, it has the satellite emergency service.
Okay.
There was just an article I read about a group of people that got lost in a cave, and they found like an air vent or something, and they could only get a satellite lock every 20 minutes or so because the cave the hole was so small. So they were able to queue up a bunch of emergency messages that then got pushed out to the next satellite and help rescuers find where they were,
Cool.
which is pretty cool. So already we're seeing that emergency satellite working for them. Let's see.
Well, Steve,
Yes.
I'm assuming that if they drop Hey Siri on the phone, they're going to drop it on the M1 desktop also.
Probably, yeah. In the next OS, you won't have to use the Hey. You can just say Siri. Although it's no, she's known for answering when you didn't mean to, and now you have to say less to trigger her. So is it going to be more false positives? That will hopefully won't be too annoying.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Siri needs a serious brain upgrade.
Well, one of the things that a lot of the pundits say is that because of Apple's privacy goals, Siri is dumber than Google or Alexa, because they know so much about you that they're better at answering your questions. But because the Siri and Apple's privacy is tighter, she doesn't know as much about you. Yeah, speaking of privacy, if the messages thinks you're getting a naked picture, it will stop and ask if you want to receive it or not.
Trigger alerts.
So in Messages, AirDrop, Contact, Phone, and FaceTime, and third-party apps can also use this feature. So if someone is sending you dick pics, they'll be stopped before they get to you. Lockdown mode. We've already started hearing reports on lockdown mode as being able to stop Pegasus and other super horrible spy programs that governments are putting on dissidents' phones. So you go into lockdown mode, and it basically turns your phone into just a phone. It can't do hardly anything else. But then you're much more protected against cyber attacks if you're a targeted person.
Well, at least it doesn't brick it entirely.
Yeah. I was listening to a Security Now podcast where they were talking about one of NSO Group's. It wasn't Pegasus. It was something else. But they found a buffer overrun in the JBig image decompression protocol. And JBig is like a 20-year-old compression protocol for images that fell out of favor. It's only useful on black and white images, but it's included in the OS at a core level because they just throw everything in. And what the NSO Group was able to do is basically create a complete Turing complete operating system using add, subtract, multiply, and divide, because those were the 4 functions they could access in this JBig overflow. So it was a zero-click, let me see if I can find it, a zero-click iPhone exploit where if the bad guy sent you a message or an email, it would attack your phone, and you have no. What's the date on this? August 21. Nope, I want more recent than that. You didn't know it was happening, and nothing you had would stop it, except being in lockdown mode already. But if you're not a political dissident or a whistleblowing reporter, then you're probably not a target for people like this. It was in one of the 900s. Was it this one? Yeah, forced entry. That was the name of it. So when Citizen Lab and the Google Zero-Day Initiative were able to decompile and reverse engineer this forced entry exploit, they were shocked and horrified about the sophistication of the program and how far it went to be able to take over your phone. You know, writing a completely new operating system with 4 instructions is just ridiculously impressive from one side, and scary on the other side. So let's go to forced entry iPhone. Yeah. So allegedly developed by the NSO Group, and they've said they're only going to sell their product to the good guys. But
Right.
it's been found by repressive governments, put onto the phones of dissidents and journalists. Now using JBig too. So JBig, where did it kind of found somewhere when it came out, but it was 30 years ago, because it was for black and white um, image compression. Just absolutely incredible the sophistication of the programming of this exploit. And so we're at the point where the government agencies and non-government organizations are doing, spying on each other basically, and spying on average citizens. So it was partially found by from Citizen Labs at University of Toronto, and they've done a lot of work in iPhone security for dissidents and whistleblowers and journalists and things like that. All right, so let's just, we're running out of time, skirt to the bottom. Here we go. So iOS 17 is compatible with basically 10 and later, iPhone 10 and later. So if you have an SE first generation, which we were basically calling the 9 because they never really had a 9, or an 8 or a 7, or actually 7 can't even go to iOS 16 now. So if you have an iPhone 10 or later, you'll be able to use iOS 17. It's likely going to come out this fall. If you want, you can join the beta program and be able to run beta software, but it will crash and you will lose everything on the phone, so don't do it on your primary phone. And it's very similar to iPad OS 17. Most of the features that are in iOS 17 are coming out in iPad OS 17 as well. And so a lot of the same features are there, just designed for the bigger screen. We thought it was interesting when Apple separated iOS and iPad OS, even though they're like 90% the same. Just designed for a bigger screen on iPad OS. And then, of course, to go to Mac OS, we have Mac OS Sonoma is the new name. So we went from Big Sur to Monterey to Ventura, and now we're into Sonoma. So we're wondering if there's going to be a lot of wine spills on the computers now. The Sonoma Valley is known for its vineyards. So many of the same things that we're seeing in iOS and iPad OS are going to be available. One of the things they've added now are the screensavers that used to be only available on the Apple TV until someone figured out how to find them. So there's a screensaver you can get on the Mac called Arial, which you can do now, and there we are. It gives you the Apple TV screensavers on your Mac, and they're just gorgeous. There's underwater, there's desert, and mountain, and snow, and space, and it's already compatible with Sonoma. which I don't even think the beta is out yet. So especially if you have a nice big screen, that's why it was nice on the Apple TV, because you typically had it on your big television screen. So they're taking widgets from iOS and adding them to the computer. So if you remember desktop, oh shoot, what was the name of it? Was it widgets? Way back in the early days, we had desktop.
Yeah,
widgets.
it was widgets.
Desktop accessories was the original name.
Oh,
yep.
That's even farther.
That's even farther back, where you hit a key on your keyboard and you went into a new window with just like a calculator and a weather icon, and that was widgets 30 years ago, and now we're getting them back in Mac OS. And most of the iOS apps can be run on an Apple Silicon Mac because the underlying operating system is the same, and the underlying chip is the same. So basically, the computers, the Apple Silicon M series chip, are very closely related to the A series chips in the phones. So in many cases, you can run iPhone and iPad apps on
That
your
was
computer.
my very question. I knew you had talked about that
Yeah,
earlier. And
the developer has to allow it at the other end, but they can allow it, or they can make you buy a separate version. But it is possible to do.
Like widgets. I hated to see them go.
Yeah, they were gone for a while, and then they're back. They're kind of there now in the notification bar on the Mac, where
Yeah.
and in the control strip on the Mac, they distilled widgets down into just a tiny thing to take up less space. But now we're getting back into a full screen ability to rearrange and position your widgets where you want them to go.
Yeah. To me, the best thing they put on the last OS was the little weather icon that was on the phone.
Yep.
I always wondered, why didn't you have that? And it suddenly showed up. I use it constantly.
And what that is the iPhone app.
Yeah.
So that's from Apple, rather than just making a new app. Actually, it's the iPad app to put on your Apple Silicon Mac because they already had it written for Apple Silicon. So it was very easy to write for the Mac and include. The News app on the Mac is the same way. It's the same News app from iPad OS.
Yeah.
They've added a bunch of things for screen sharing. Even though the pandemic is basically over, we're still doing video chats like we're doing tonight. So Apple is adding more and more things for presentation. So you'll be able to, basically it's doing green screen, automatic background reduction and replacement, so you can have yourself in front of your presentation, either your whole self or just a thumbnail of yourself. And so you can keep your window floating over top of a shared screen. Right now, with most of the shared screen options, even in Mastermind Lounge now, you see the thumbnails of everybody. It's actually a little tricky to see just the speaker and the shared screen. And if you have a new enough computer that has the center stage on it, you can walk around and the image, actually, is it doing it? Because I'm pretty sure I have center stage. No, but I can't see my thumbnail. Where's my thumbnail?
Nope, it's not working for
It
you.
fell off the edge. So it may be that Mastermind doesn't support center stage. So that you basically, it's on an HD camera, it's showing you a frame, and it can pan left and right and look like the camera is following your movements, which is pretty freaky when you see it happen. That happened to Charlie on his iPad at the Old Toad during the Christmas board meeting, and hey Charlie, you've got that feature.
I'm going to have a couple quick questions about this one, but go ahead and finish the features.
Okay. Let's see how far down. Yeah, here's the center stage. You can use your iPhone camera now easier as a webcam on your computer. So even if you have the 1080 camera in the newer Macs, the 4K camera and the 48 megapixel camera on the iPhone 14 are that much better. So there are stands now that will let you hook your phone to the back of your screen to get an even better camera. The same profiles that the phone has, Safari is going to have as well on the Mac. This was kind of an interesting thing. Any website can become an app. And I'm not quite sure, well, kind of why they bothered. Because people are used to bookmarks and opening up a web page. But now you'll be able to save a bookmark in your dock, and it opens up a single web page of only that website. And you don't have the full, back or next or other bookmarks or other favorites. It's just that one website. I guess it's because so many programs are coming out as web only now. QuickBooks Online. They actually have a desktop version of the online app, and all it is a web browser that goes to the website. So Apple's kind of building that into to the next OS, so that if you have a web only app, so like Charlie in your Gmail app, it's still a website, but it would be its own app to go to the website. It's a very subtle difference between opening a website and opening a browser, going to a website, and opening a web app and going to the website. But it's there.
Thanks for
Isn't
the
it
warning.
just like using a bookmark, except that it's an alias that's on your desktop?
Yeah. So it's for people that know how to use bookmarks, they can. I still run into a lot of customers that don't know how to use bookmarks. They only go to recent, or they Google everything they want to go to get back to it again, and it's so frustrating to watch someone Google apple.com instead of just going to apple.com in the address bar. So they'll type google.com, get to the Google search page, and then type apple.com to search. So just type apple.com. Adding more passkey. We're hoping more and more websites are going to start using passkeys, which is a replacement for passwords, but the other end doesn't have to keep any secrets. So when they get breached, they have no secret to lose. So we're hoping that's going to get more widespread. Being able to search and find things in your messages. If you've been using messages for a long time, you may end up with thousands and thousands of conversations. You can have the system delete messages after a year. Most people have it set to never, because you never know when you're going to need that message again, or a conversation. Let's see, messages, stickers. So a lot of the same stuff we saw in iOS. Be able to fill in PDFs. So PDF is going to be able. So right now, Preview can already be used to fill in PDFs. What they're adding is it'll be able to access your autofill stuff. So you can have it automatically fill your name and address and everything without needing to type all that separately. Let's see. Notes and pages will be able to synchronize a little better. So we were talking with Larry, the Notes app, it's almost Pages now inside Notes to do pictures and text and styles and all sorts of things. So you can start a note and then go into Pages to enhance it. Autocorrect is going to be faster. Oh, we forgot to mention one of the biggest things on iOS is you can swear now. So the ducking iPhone won't be ducking anymore. There, a lot of websites had articles on that, pointing out that you can swear now in iOS 17. So maybe they're probably adding it in macOS now too. Gaming, Apple and gaming have an interesting history because they don't use the standard gaming platforms that Windows computers use. it's very hard to make a cross-platform game. So it's difficult for a company to decide to make a Mac game because of the extra work in making a Windows version of it. And Windows is where the most number of people are, so that's where a lot of the money goes. It's kind of the opposite of the casual gaming on the iPhone. There are so many games available on the iPhone, and so many companies making so much money on iPhone casual gaming. But making AAA games for the Mac has been hit and miss for a long time. So they brought up a game developer from I don't know if it'll even show it here. No, from one of the big game companies who say we're gonna make this cool new game for the Mac. So that one will come out and then hopefully something else. But usually it's that one guy that they brought up on stage brings that game out and then nothing else ever comes of it. Most gamers will get an Xbox or PlayStation anyway. And then Steam was supposed to be one of the great unifiers that a company could write a game for Steam and it would work on Mac or Windows. But most of the time they're using Windows graphics tweaks from ATI and NVIDIA to make the graphics better, and then they just don't work on the Mac. So there's a lot of work in rewriting your game for the Mac. But if you do write a Mac game, there's some amazing graphics you can put into it. It just won't be compatible with Windows. Yeah, the same sort of privacy stuff. If someone sent you a picture, bringing lockdown mode to the Mac, so especially on laptops that you tend to carry. Let's see, does it give us? Here we go. So compatibility, it's 2017 and later. On the iMac, it's 2019 and later. So we cut off several models of 2017 and 2018 Macs.
It looks like it says MacBook Pro is 2018 and later.
Yeah, MacBook Pro, MacBook Air 2018 and later. So the 2016 and 2017 that could run Ventura can't run Sonoma.
Okay. That was my question.
Yeah. So hardly anyone had an iMac Pro, so we can say it's MacBooks 2018 and later and iMacs 2019 and later. And again, you can join the developer program if you want to get early access. Now, the biggest thing Apple did announce, go back to the home page, is Apple Vision Pro goggles. So AR, VR, MR goggles. The rumor was that they were going to be called Reality Pro, and it ends up being called Vision Pro. And they're hard to define, but kind of the bottom line is it's a personal screen. You wear this screen in front of your face. In fact, a lot of people pointed out that this is the exact scene from Ready Player One, when it starts out with Wade putting his goggles on. And when you put on your goggles, you're going to see your computer screen. So the Apple Vision Pro is a standalone computer, does not require anything else to run. And I don't know if I can pause it at the time. There's probably there it is. It shows up and you have all of your standard apps just like an ordinary computer. So you've got your mail and your messages, Keynote. Interesting that Pages isn't here yet, although it may be in this compatible button. All your photos, your web browsing, music, and Apple TV, because one of the big options is media. So you can use it as a super private monitor that no one can see, and you can have as big a monitor as you want that can expand beyond your vision, or you can have multiple screens that completely fill your vision. You navigate with your hands, eyes, and voice. So you tap your fingers and that's a click. You flick your fingers and that's a scroll. You can use your voice to dictate text. And you can pair to a Bluetooth keyboard if you want to do long typing.
Not including sounds. How does it know what your fingers are doing? Help me here.
We'll get to that in a minute.
All right.
And one of the biggest things that things like the Oculus Quest and some of the VR goggles are used for now are watching movies, and the movie can expand to fill your entire watching a space movie. So here is the thing itself. So it looks like kind of an overgrown ski goggle is one of the best descriptions we've seen of it. All right, I'm trying. Here we go. And so a single piece of three-dimensionally formed laminated glass. But to answer Charlie's question, there are like 24 cameras and sensors. And so cameras pointed down, sensors looking around your room so you don't run into someone if you're moving around. Cameras pointed down to look at your hands and legs. The audio straps around the back of your head with headphones in it, basically. This is a tensioning knob, so you can tension it to your head, and that's in the headband. And it includes spatial audio. So has anyone played with spatial audio? Do you have new enough earbuds that have it? It's three-dimensional surround sound using only two speakers, basically, and it tricks your brain into thinking sound is coming from behind you and in front of you, and it's really amazing. So inside the goggles, I thought this would move. You have two 4K displays, and that will show you the images, one for each eye, so it can do stereoscopic imaging. It has a light seal, so it can block out ambient light. It's got a digital crown like the watch, so that's one way to scroll through things. And it has about a 2-hour battery life built in, or you can snap on an external battery pack if you want to use much longer. They say all-day battery, so we got to go back to defining that all day again. Let's see. There's apps, the home theater. I want to see that picture of what they showed. Oh, so FaceTime video chatting is really amazing because it generates, so because you don't have a camera pointed at your body, it generates a 3D avatar of yourself. When you set it up for the very first time, you use the sensors in front of it to do a 3D map of yourself, and then it overlays your physical image on top of that 3D map. So you can be doing video chatting, and people see your profile the way they would have if you have a camera sitting on your microphone, on your computer out in front of you. But you still see everything around you unless you use that digital crown to hide all of the everything behind. And it doesn't have to be just FaceTime. It can be it can be meetings as well. You can have an overlay of your presentation that you're giving to everyone. So if everyone's in the same VR space, that's one of the options they do. Let's see, the light seal, the headband, 2 hours, the speakers. One of the things that's very interesting, let me find a picture of it here, the front laminated glass. So if someone walks up to you, they can see your eyes, and so you can talk to someone while you've got the headset on as if you were looking directly at them. But actually that was at the top here. This is a screen. It's not passing through your eyes. It's a screen, showing the video of your eyes from the internal cameras. There's a couple of dozen sensors inside watching your eye movement. So that's how you control the cursor on screen, basically. Kind of like an Apple TV where you have that left, right, up, down. You actually look left, right, up, down, and that's how you move your pointer around in the virtual screen. And so when someone comes in to the room with you, they're caught by the outside cameras, which then changes the glass from opaque, or you can, if you're concentrating on something, you can have like a swirly light show playing, to showing your eyes. And so this is a video of your eyes from the video cameras on the inside projected onto a screen, which is kind of an interesting way to do it, instead of having pass-through glass that runs into other problems. Let's get back down to where we were. So they call it a spatial operating system called Vision OS. And so it reminds me a lot of the Apple TV OS, the iPhone OS, where you have these applications just floating in space, and you use your eyes to look at and point to something. And when you look across the icons, they get big as you're looking at them to show you which one you're actually looking at. And let's see, a lot of the there's a list. So the apps you commonly use are on the main page. You can have different backgrounds on your main page. Oops. Well, there's only 2 of them. And by clicking, is this going to be a video? By rotating the digital crown, you can cut off all of the outside environment, so you're just seeing the digital environment. There's some of the insides of it. So it's powered by an M2 processor with let me see if they show it, with a new processor series called the R1 for the reality processor that is responsible for collating and analyzing the dozens of sensors to feed real-time information into each eye. So as you move your head, one of the biggest problems with VR glasses now is the lag between something happening in the real world and you seeing it in your screen. So you move your head and there's a imperceptible, but a virtually imperceptible lag in the image changing. So with this reality processor and 23 million pixels, 4K for each eye, it's able to stop that lag and theoretically will stop people from getting motion sick, because there's a lot of problem with current VR headsets, people getting motion sick after a while, because the lag of moving their head and seeing the environment move just not quite right is puke-inducing. Puke-inducing, yeah.
That's me.
Yep. And if you wear glasses, they have inserts that will be able to match your prescription. So you can take your glasses off to wear them. Spatial audio, so it does a map of the room you're in, so that it can give you audio from anywhere that sounds like it's coming from anywhere around the room. There's the sensors around the eye. So each eye has zillions of sensors. It uses IR cameras, so you don't see any of that, but this is how it tracks your eye movement. So it can tell what you're looking at.
I assume the energy is low enough not to cook your eyes.
Yeah. Let's see. Which button is this? Oh, that's this one. There it is. So there's the M2 processor and the R1 processor. privacy built in. So it uses optic ID is now what it uses, like Face ID, I gotta move these pillows. Face ID and Touch ID in previous models. Now it's optic ID, which actually measures your retina and the lines in your retina, which are theoretically unique to each person in your iris, not your retina. Sorry. So that only you can wear them and see your stuff. So there's a setup process when you first get on board where it scans your face, creates a face map, creates an iris map, and then locks it down to you. Now, if you have a new enough computer, you can you can use AR to see the VR. So on your phone, you can open up this page and be able to see a three-dimensional view on your phone of the glasses. And they're announcing this at the developer conference, so that developers will be able to write programs to take advantage of this new interface. And so, how far down? Oh, they haven't. Oh, no, they didn't sit there. So, a lot of the rumors going around were it was going to be $3,000. Turns out that was wrong. It's going to be $3,500 for the beginning, and will be available next year. Let's see if does this have a. Nope, doesn't have that. So we've got to wait at least 6 months before it comes out. But that gives developers enough time to write more programs for the system. And they had a pretty cool little video. Yeah, early next year. That was where we would learn more. I'm surprised the video isn't on this page. So this is Vision Pro for $3,500. A lot of people were quick to point that out. This is high-end Pro, dozens of sensors, 4K per eye. The theory is, in fact, it may come out at less than $3,500 next year. Oh shoot! If I show a YouTube video, I'm going to turn the audio off. Are you seeing this audio in the chat or in the meeting? God, I can't even think. Yeah, I'm seeing it in my monitor. So hopefully, if I turn the audio off, we won't get demonetized.
Are you asking if I'm hearing the audio on YouTube?
No, if you're seeing the YouTube video in the meeting share, and it looks like it is coming out to YouTube and into Mastermind. So this is their about a 9-minute video talking about Vision Pro. So the expectation is that there'll be a
the other thing
I don't think they give a weight on it, but it doesn't weigh very much, and it's designed to be comfortable.
I've tried on the Oculus goggles before, and I discovered that my face just starts sweating like quite a bit.
They make a point of saying that it's breathable materials.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try them before I'm gonna.
Yeah. So it looks like Apple Vision Pro
believer,
is 450 grams.
So that's about a pound.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, of course, is the price. And I have to say, well, for that amount of money, I could buy myself a hell of a laptop.
Yep. But it won't be a VR lens.
And the other thing is, I'm not really seeing the application here of the AR versus the VR.
Well, and part of the problem is,
what difference does it make?
And part of the problem is there's nobody really has any standard definitions, and a lot of the companies have conflicting definitions. Augmented reality, well, virtual reality is kind of agreed upon. It's a virtual environment. You're playing a computer game. Everything is a virtual environment. And then augmented reality was supposed to mean you're looking at a real scene and there's an overlay of information. And kind of the typical trope is you're walking up to someone, you can't remember how you know them, and over their head pops up a little, hey, that's Joe. You worked with him at this job during this time. He's got a wife and 3 kids. One of his kids just graduated from here. And so it fills in all that type of information for you in a little bubble over that person's head. Then some companies started coming out with mixed reality, which is supposed to be a mix of real and virtual, but that's what augmented is. So no one really knows what anything means.
Yeah, and I just don't see this doing those types of applications at the moment.
And
you'd be walking down the street and you'd meet somebody and you'd get all their FaceTime information.
Maybe in 10 years this will be glasses instead of goggles like this, or in 20 years it'll be an implant. You go to the science fiction memes.
Implant in your brain, huh?
Yeah, all the science fiction memes where it's contacts that go in, and then eventually it is just an implant that overlays in your ocular nerve, and so these things just show up in your eyesight, even though they're not really there.
Mm-hmm.
We've got drugs that can do that too,
Yeah.
Steve, one of the things I wanted to ask was, in the course of things, I lost track of how much of what is right in front of you in reality, to speak, and I'll tell you where I'm headed with this and why. My mom had macular degeneration, and when she was going through that, I saw various kinds of literature about it. And one of the things that some company was promoting was this thing you wore on your head. And it really looked like it was scary looking. There'd be an old helmet, but not as appealing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if somewhere along the line there's maybe something else exists now that does what I'm thinking of, but whether this kind of technology might be adapted to help people with macular degeneration in a less scary appearing format.
I could see, excuse me. So one of the things that it currently does, I forget what they called it, but the edges of the screen are not rendered as fast or as sharp as the center. Well, actually, what you're looking at is rendered at the full 4K per eye. And then in your peripheral vision, it's less rendered than that, so that's how it does everything faster. I could see someone building a medical assistance device where it uses the forward-facing cameras to project that image onto the internal display, which is kind of what it already does now. When someone walks into the room, you see them on the internal display in your peripheral vision until you turn to look at them. And then they see, this picture here, they see your eyes on the screen.
Right.
So right now, the shorter answer is we don't know. The sky's the limit. Anyone can write anything that they're capable of. And to Rick's point, we don't know what the killer app is going to be. We always talked about the killer app when some new technology came out. And right now, it's just the novelty of VR glasses. But eventually, there'll be something that makes it real compelling.
Yeah, a starting amount of 10,000 people wearing this, the developer really has to ask themselves, is it worth my time?
Well, eventually,
How much money am I going to get from this?
Yeah, the first year of iPhone wasn't that many sales either, but that exploded.
Yeah,
So this
flops.
Yeah. So this is Microsoft HoloLens, and all the processing is on the thing behind you. So I guess that's sort of counterweighted with the screen in front of you. And they are marketing this into manufacturing, engineering, healthcare. So if you're here's one. So you're working on a thing. You can be watching a tutorial, either with someone guiding you through it, or you see the overlay of here, you push this button here and that thing there, right in your vision. So this is the augmented reality where it overlays what you're supposed to do onto your real vision in a training situation.
See, I think those types of applications are very worthwhile because
Yeah.
they're training people how to do things
Yep.
and they can point. It's helpful.
Yeah.
But for a home user, you're not going to see so much of that, I don't think.
Right. So for home users, initially, it's going to be probably movies and video chatting. And so HoloLens, the cheap one is $3,500. So that's comparatively. And the developer edition is $3,500, so that you can write programs for HoloLens. So the Apple Vision, to me, feels like it's more targeted at this higher end training and industrial use, and maybe the third or fourth generation is going to be more targeted toward home users at the $500 price point or the $1,000 price point. Even right now, an iPhone 14 is about $1,000 to get a common model. And I almost wonder. Well, there was that. Who called it? Was it Google Cardboard, where you took your phone and slid it into like a ViewMaster slot, and then you held that up to your face, and that's where they projected the image, is the right on your phone screen. And so that was a popular thing for a while. Yeah, Google Cardboard. I wonder if it still exists. Yeah, still exists. Can you still buy it? Google Maps, Google Shopping, build your avatar, products, AR glasses. Oh, so they're working on also actual glasses, so you don't look as dorky as Google Glass did to begin with. So Google Glass created a new term called a glass hole. You didn't know. You knew someone was wearing this weird thing on their face. You didn't know if they were recording you. So they've got a camera on their face, and all the early adopters were walking around recording things without letting people know. So that got a negative social connotation. But technology-wise, the Google Glass was pretty cool. And now it looks like they're getting more into hidden into actual glasses themselves. So that's pretty cool.
There were some glasses done by a Rochester, New York company that were very sophisticated. And they looked like just normal glasses, but they did have the AR in them. I don't remember the name of the company, if it was Oculus or somebody else.
There was Vuzix. Yeah.
Maybe that was
VZIX,
the
yeah.
company.
We had them at CIDER meeting ages ago.
Yeah, show their product.
So that was. How about the big one? Yeah, this is more like what Google Glass looked like. One of the things that they have to an advantage is you can clip them onto actual glasses. So if you wear glasses, and in this case they show them on safety glasses, you can use it on your regular glasses. Let me see if they
Steve, I gotta leave, but good night, everyone. Great meeting. See you next time around.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Good night, Larry.
Good night, Larry.
You're muted, Shirley. I'm trying to find a price
I
on
was going to
these.
say maybe we should end this soon. It's 10 after 10 or so. And any more to say, Steve, or is that pretty much it?
That's pretty much it. I'd recommend watching the whole keynote. So the first hour is the Macs and the OSs, and the second hour is Apple Vision. So if you want to just watch the Apple Vision stuff, go to the second hour.
I have a little anecdote I wanted to share quickly, if I may.
Sure.
It's totally off topic of our Apple stuff. There's a guy that does YouTube videos. His name is Louis Rossmann, R-O-S-S-M-A-N.
Yep.
And he had one recently that I saw. And if I have this correct, this guy had his home was completely, wired, whatever you want to call it, digital home. And yes, the system he was using used Amazon servers, so that if he told the light to turn on or something like that, whatever it is, Alexa or something would pick up his command and transmit it to the Amazon servers, and they would transmit back the command to turn on the light or something like that.
Alexa
and
enabled.
So what happened was, pardon me?
Yeah, Alexa enabled home devices. There's Google ones and there's Apple ones, yeah.
So what happened to this guy was that there was a delivery from Amazon, and this guy had a doorbell. It was, I believe the brand was Eufy, not Ring. But at any rate, as the Amazon driver was leaving, he heard something from the doorbell that he thought was a racial slur and reported it to Amazon. And Amazon shut this customer's home down for about a week. And he had to go around and around with Amazon to persuade him that, the guy had misheard and it was just baloney coming out of his doorbell. But, the bottom line of this guy Rossmann's message was, it doesn't make sense to have everything in your house connected up to somebody else's server. You don't need that stuff. But I thought that was amazing.
And I would tend to not believe him. He is very well known for overhyping bad things.
Okay, I believe it.
He talks.
I believe that.
Yeah, he has a Mac repair shop in New York, and he's always ragging on Apple for Apple policies, and saying the power connector on your computer breaks. You don't have to replace the part. You can just solder it back together again. Well, nobody knows how to solder anymore. But yes, if you know how to solder and you can solder a multi-layer board and you have the tools, you can probably do it. And then if you do it wrong, you destroy the rest of your computer.
Right.
So,
well,
I
wonder if we can't see it because it's over.
He'd take everything sort of that he says with a grain of salt. So I see a lot of articles on the accusations. I see nothing on what Amazon actually did, and I see no follow-up on if it was resolved or not.
Yeah. That's good to know. Take him with a grain of salt.
On this. Oh, it's right at the start.
Yep.
But some of his videos are interesting. That he gets into tearing down computers and inside stuff.
Well, I guess that means that you should know your source.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's someone, like you said, that can be trusted to tell you the truth, or somebody that's, because you want to believe that everything is on the up and up on what you read.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up for that reason. Now I know to temper my enthusiasm about this guy.
Right. So I guess you'd have to, like I said, you have to do your own research for a lot of things. You can't, you listen to things and you say, oh, and then if you're really interested, you go, is that really true? And you try to corroborate whether that's true or not, and not just say, oh, that's sensational, whatever.
And I'm finding dozens of blogs saying that a man claims Amazon shut him down, but nothing that nothing after that. No follow
Well,
up at all.
I wanted to bring up something too that I read that today, I think it was today, that DeSantis is using AI to create wrong ads, and by putting people shown who were not together, shown like shaking hands or doing things, and they said he's like the first of the people that they is starting to do this, trying to make people look at it and think, oh, that's really true. They won't follow up. Same thing.
And that's always
They'll
been
just see it and go, oh, that's really true. Look, there's Biden with Kim Jong or whatever, and he's buying it, he's selling us out or what, those kind of things.
and that's always
he
been,
doesn't care.
That's always been possible with camera trickery and post processing. It's getting easier with AI, and
Right.
OpenAI has said that they're trying to stop anything political. Because when version 3 first came out, there was a big controversy about someone asked ChatGPT to write a headline about Biden, and it said something about Biden's environmental plan and whatnot, and then they said write a headline about Trump, and they got a headline about Trump being indicted for something else, and they were both true, but because the Trump one was more salacious, the OpenAI got criticized for it. And so they're trying to take down anything political. So you ask, I think now if you ask anything political, you don't get any answer.
Well, supposedly he did that like today or yesterday, and they didn't really care. They just put it out there, and when people complained about it and said that's not true, look at it, it's a fake, and they just thumb their nose at the people doing that, which is typical. Whatever. So anyways, all right, so let's officially end.
Well, Bob, did you put your hand up?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Bob, didn't see you.
No one mentioned that I heard of the AI being used by the Beatles. There's going to be a brand new Beatles song featuring John Lennon. They had a tape of John Lennon singing the song that's never been released before. And, it was probably a cassette tape or something. And AI has spruced it up, and they took Ringo's drum techniques, and they combined it all, and the Beatles are going to be coming out with a brand new Beatles song featuring John Lennon sometime in the near future.
Yeah, that was
all
in the news today.
I don't think
Paul
it's
McCartney's doing it.
I don't
Say
think
again?
it's bad if someone does something like that with a full knowledge that that it's being recreated that way.
I think they're using AI as more of a scare word, because
but it's been done by the Beatles. The Beatles are actually doing it. John Lennon, or Paul McCartney and Ringo.
And you can do that with regular mixing equipment now.
Yeah, well, it's doing it better.
Well, yeah. So in Logic, there's a what's the function? Well, I use one in Audacity called normalize. So it takes the highs and the lows and kind of mixes them together to make them normal.
Right.
Sometimes there's distortion. Nick is really hot and Dave is really soft, and I try to be somewhere in the middle. And so sometimes there's distortion doing that. So an AI tool can look at thousands or millions of examples of audio and come up with a better method of doing it. And so in this case, they're adding a new tool, but they're calling it AI, and the public is getting all up in arms about it.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard any reaction to it. It was just on the news, maybe yesterday or today.
Wasn't a few years ago, Fred Astaire did a new commercial of dancing for some stupid thing, dancing with a mop, and that was all done with cameras, the traditional camera trickery.
Well, see, that's the other thing is like our generation knows who a lot of these people are. A younger generation is going to think, who is that? They're not going to know who that is. And why they have
Well,
him
then
dancing. You know what I mean? It's
Natalie Cole did a duet with her father. What, 20 years after he died?
Yeah.
yeah.
Unforgettable.
And just AI tools are making that easier. A few years ago we wouldn't have called it an AI tool. We would have just called it a new audio tool. Auto
Well,
tune. The auto tune. 20 years ago, auto tune would have been called AI.
Well, it's same thing with movies and stuff where they're trying to de-age people, like, you
Yeah.
know, like they did with Marvel or some of the other places.
Sometimes
and
it
it's like,
works and
okay,
sometimes it doesn't.
yeah, I just hope they doesn't get to the point where it's like, you know, the actors are out of luck in a sense, and they'll
Well, I was
remember
watching.
years and years ago they talked about that with Final Fantasy about they were looking too good.
Mm-hmm.
And what the actors were afraid like they would be replaced. But again, you have to base it sort of on real people in many ways. Some things, and maybe you don't. If it's animated, you have to tell people it's not real.
I just recently
But, you know,
saw an episode of The Rookie where was it Selena was dating again, and she was going through dating apps, and there was this really handsome guy, and it was Smitty, which is the character everyone hates on the show, and he's lazy and he's just waiting to bide his time so he can do his 20 and retire. And the picture was a headshot of the actor from 30 years ago when he was a young hot actor. So sometimes you see that when they show old photos of people, it's really their old photos if they've been in the business long enough.
Yep.
all right. Well,
Bob, are you going to do your Saturday SIG?
Yeah, I'll send out the invitation to the usual suspects and see what happens.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's officially end our meeting for tonight.
All right. What's our topic next month? Do we know yet?
Picnic.
Picnic.
All right. It's July. Yeah.
That's right. So we'll be sending out more info on that the closer we get, and we'll be discussing it next week at our board meeting. Our details, and then hopefully see everybody there.
And Rick, you don't have to go get tables this year.
No.
Oh, good.
And just to let you know, as I went to a picnic for Steve's Rams Club, the airplane club, and they had a lot of leftover ketchup, mustard, relish, onions, Carol. So none of that stuff has to be bought this time because he bought big jars of them, and they weren't going to keep them because their next picnic was going to be the end of August, and he said there would be no point of hoarding them that long for them. So I took them all. So we can use those, but again, we could talk about it next week. But anyways, all right, people. Good night to everyone who's here.
Well,
we'll see you all next month. Hopefully we'll see some bunch of your faces at the picnic. The weather is good.
Yep.
Have a good night.
And bring your bathing suit.
See you next week.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night, all.
And end it.
I have to get my